seems to be around an 11-second difference between Evenepoel and Pogacar. But Pogacar obviously riding a couple of minutes further behind on course, so time to narrow that gap. But it looks like now, as the Quick Step team just said to Remco, this is where you make the difference. He's in his element now and feeling good about holding off this man, the yellow jersey.
As it stands, Roglic would be moving up in the GC. Ayuso looking like he could be being bumped down.
Yes, it looked like that very earlier in the time trial here. We could see that he was losing a lot of time. But again, looking at the leaderboard, the yellow jersey, it was always going to be a difficult one for Ayuso. And as I said, he does put in good time trials, but he hasn't that consistency of the men he's fighting against here to hold his place in the GC.
Oh, hang on, things could be about to change again. because Remco Evenepoel, with 2.5 kilometers still to the line, has a mechanical issue that he seems to have been able to more or less sort.
I think it was a gear issue because the tyre's not flat. He was bouncing the back. It's like the chain won't go down onto the gear that he wants it to go. So it looks like an equipment blockage. Remains to be seen what that might be, but definitely a problem for Remco Evenepoel not getting the gear he wanted.
The adrenaline at least is flowing again, even though a second or two might have been shipped the other way. But given how it looks straight away, it could have been worse, that, Sean.
Yes, it could have been, and it looks like the gear wasn't good up and down. You could see him, he just hopped the back wheel a little bit just to try and get the rear derailleur to go down on the block here and get the bigger gear. And yeah, he done well there, because if he had a problem here, that would be a major disaster. As we can see here, there he's hopping it, trying to get it just to move down the block.
Panic on the streets of Burgundy.
Yep, the equivalent of giving it a swift kick as much as you can, travelling at 50k an hour. Vingegaard, the time's ticking away. Looks like it'll go into the red.
The two former teammates fighting. Both of them who went down in that terrible Basque crash. Vingegaard having to come from further back to get here. He has got here. He's fought for every second. He is still in the game after today, but he's going to have to come from further back. 3 seconds down on Roglic, but what is the damage to Evenepoel out of the yellow jersey, who remains for the moment Tadej Pogačar. Now then, Evenepoel going a little wider there.
Wide, and a couple of goes, just completely missed the apex as well. And trying to also get a listen in from that the TV motorbike. If there's any sort of sounds, I thought I heard a type of a clicking, buzzing sound coming from his bike, which indicates a gear problem, a chain not lining up. Could be something caught in between the cassette, preventing the chain from going up and down as he wants.
That bombastic cadence continues, though. He's into the final 550 meters. On his way, as it seems, to a stage win. We'll have to wait to confirm that, though, because Pogačar is behind him. He is going to be the fastest rider. Roglic, the current leader, 29, 26, 51. But every second that ticks down here is a second where Roglic will be happy to have defended any problems. For the minute, though, Evenepoel on his way to the line, fighting everything. Here he goes. Is this his moment? It's his Tour debut, and a week in, Remco Evenepoel wants to send Belgium bananas. The world champion across the line. He is in the lead and now faces a nervous 2-minute wait to see if he's going to take his first ever stage win at the Tour. If this clock is to be believed, he is on his way to victory.
He is on his way, but not without the nervous moments. The gear problems he had every corner on the way in seemed to be costing him time. Very, very gingerly around every corner, where Tadej Pogačar in yellow swoops through every bend. He's taking time back all the way into the run up to the line.
That was strong from Evenepoel, Sean, but if this time is to be believed, Pogačar is going to keep the yellow jersey. Evenepoel will be edging closer. It was 45 seconds at the start of the day. The current estimate's showing just over half a minute.
Yes, it looks like that Evenepoel, you know, he was a little bit ragged in the corners. And we know Remco, you know, we've seen it already in this Tour. His bike handling, not as confident in the corners as this man. But again, I think that power he's got in the end, it should be good enough for him to hold on and take the stage honours, as we can see here, the difference at the moment. But yeah, it's always an important one. I was expecting Remco Evenepoel, you know, to do the business here today to win the title. I thought he might take a little bit more what we're seeing out on the road at the moment, as we can see this man going into the final 700 metres to the finish.
Well, what a battle it's been. I'm off to the breakaway. It looks like Evenepoel will get the stage victory, but Pogačar will push it all the way. He'll take another second or two back with another couple of bends to come.
Pogačar with 450 metres to go. Time ticking down. Evenepoel looking good for the stage win. But Pogačar in yellow, in control. Another day of changes in the general classification. That time moves to red. There has been some swing to Remco Evenepoel, but Tadej Pogačar comes to the line and he remains our leader. 12 seconds shipped to Evenepoel, and Remco Evenepoel, on debut at the Tour de France, the world champion, wins a stage of the Tour de France for the first time in his career. The celebrations can begin. He's done it for Soudal Quickstep and Sean Kelly. He's in the fight to win this tour.
He certainly is in the fight, and you know, this will give him the confidence, you know, to beat the man who's in the race leader jersey at the moment, Tadej Pogacar. And it'll be an interesting one now as we go further into this race, because we know with Remco in the 3-week tour, we see able to, you know, keep his focus for that distance. But he's definitely in the fight here to win this race at this moment, and a job well done in this time trial. He might have been expected to take a little bit more out of Tadej Pogacar, but still, he's the winner on the day.
Evenepoel winning a Grand Tour stage here, completing the Grand Tour stage set. Well, he's had it. He's now done it in the Vuelta, the Giro and the Tour de France. He's used his big weapon against the clock to win a stage of the biggest bike race in the world. There was Golden Greg, Rainbow Remco, and now if Belgium already wasn't interested in this race, that interest just skyrocketed. Evenepoel beating Pogacar by 12, Roglic at 34 seconds, Vingegaard well in the fight too. The 7 days in, 14 to go. The yellow jersey at the moment belonging to UAE Emirates and Tadej Pogacar. But on a rainy day as we go north in France, things are always subject to change. On paper, a sprinter's stage, but 2,500 meters of climbing, the wind blowing and the rain falling. Today's a day with a few banana skins underfoot. Two interesting stages to get out the way before the first rest day. It's nerves all day today, gravel underfoot tomorrow. So how's it going to go? What's going to happen? Before we go to today's action, let's go back 24 hours. The first of two time trials, a big day against the clock. Changes in the general classification, some confirmations of top performances, others with a must do better next to their name. This was time trial day in Burgundy as we went further north in France. First time trial at this tour, and the GC favourites responded to the challenge. The first to set off, Primož Roglic, set the tone and ahead at every interval. He took the fastest time from Campenarts before his other rivals arrived.
Doing better than Jonas Vingegaard at the early time checks. Remco and Pog are doing really well, but that's a good sign for the weeks to come.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, no. Yeah, it was not a so good sign that I start the first one of the favorites, let's say, because they are a bit better, but I'm optimistic, I'm happy, and yeah, just looking forward. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Jonas Vingegaard was next up, third from last, in fact, a year after his demonstration at Combloux. Fourth on the stage, conceding 37 seconds to the eventual winner, Evenepoel. And the Belgian lived up to expectations. He was the day's favourite and had made no secret that he'd been there 5 or 6 times to have a look at the route. All that recon, and then the legs did the talking. Evenepoel surviving a late scare to take the time. Tadej Pogacar had been last to set off in his yellow jersey, but he wasn't far off Evenepoel. Second on the stage, only losing any time to Evenepoel. And by that matter, it was only 12 seconds. Evenepoel becoming the 16th rider in history to win a time trial at all Grand Tours.
I mean, guys like that, Jonas Primož, they can do good TT as well. I think they proved it with us all being in the top 4 of the stage. So I think it was a TT that suits some good GC riders as well. And in the end, I just wanted to win. That was the most important. And with accomplishing that, I think one of the biggest objectives for this Tour de France is, yeah, I think that box is ticked off. So now we can focus on GC results and yeah, the upcoming 2 weeks.
Yeah, to come second behind the world champion, it's pretty amazing. But I know I could do better. Yeah, I went too hard a little bit on the climb, and then on the rolling part I suffered a bit. But yeah, I guess the shape is good because on the last 6 kilometers I could still push quite good. So I can be pretty satisfied with today's ride.
Of course, you've taken a little bit more time out of Jonas as well.
Yeah, I beat Jonas and Primož and the rest of the GC contenders, so I can be pretty happy to take a bit of advantage on them. And yeah, let's see what the next days prepare for us.
At the minute, it's a 33-second lead for Pogačar. Vingegaard sits in third at 150.
Doesn't seem too bad today.
Morning, everyone. UAE Emirates readying for another big weekend. On paper today, it's for
Looks
the
like
sprinters.
143 base.
The wind is blowing, however, and the rain is
Those
falling.
yellows got to be at
This
least
is a potential
230.
banana skin for both sprinters
230
and
for
GC
3
riders
minutes.
alike. Semur-en-Auxois all the way to Colombey-les-Deux-Églises. A first-time Finnish town at the Tour, 183.4 kilometers today. It's windy, it's rainy, and there are 2,500 meters to climb. An interesting day in prospect, a day before we go to the gravel, which at the minute
I
is
think the
getting
only
rather
problem
damp
with this
underfoot.
plan is
It's
that the
also
rides,
also at Visma Lease Bike. Jonas Vingegaard saving the day yesterday in the time
they're just
trial,
not long
as
enough.
Remco Evenepoel took his first
Really need to
ever
start pushing
Tour de
90 to
France
2 hours.
stage win. He's now the 16th rider in history to have won a time trial at all 3 Grand Tours. But the time trial backs and I put away until the final day of the Tour. It's back to the road. It's back to open roads and racing. Time to get race heads on.
After yesterday's time trial, we have the fantastic 4 in the lead of the general classification. Tadej Pogačar,
Oh, we actually got a star for
Jonas
that.
Vingegaard, and Primož Roglič. Jensi, that was what all of us
Oh,
hoped
okay.
for, and now they're here. We are almost the end
Another
of the
effort.
first week, but it looks like we're going to have a tight GC this year.
We're definitely
Here
going
we
to have a
go.
tight GC. I mean, it's about 130 separating the first 4 riders. It is, in some terms, a blink of an eye, but it could be an eternity if you have to catch that much time up to Pogačar. So one bad moment, any one of them, you lose 5 minutes. So it is so open, so close. And tomorrow it's a really big day. Today you just want to go through without crashing, without losing energy. But tomorrow, that's a big, big day for all the GC contenders.
Let's briefly talk about the weekend. We have possible crosswinds today, gravel stage tomorrow. Do you think we're going to see more changes in the top 5 of the GC before we have the first rest day?
Today we could only see chances if somebody tackled the day. So tomorrow, yes, we might see a big shake-up.
Oh, it's going to be interesting tomorrow. Let's see what's on the menu for the riders on today's stage.
Thanks, gentlemen. Yes, this is what's on offer today. It's 183.4 kilometers, heading north with the wind coming from the west once again. Semur-en-Auxois all the way to Colombey-les-Deux-Églises. It's up and down all day. There are actually 5 classified climbs to take on. However, for anybody who can maybe split it in the wind, the last 23 Ks or so are into a headwind. For other sprinters, they'll be hoping to hang on.
I don't know. Crashed. Cool.
Despite the crash, you're standing here without your gear on. Tell us about the decision.
Yeah, yesterday was tough. Tough there in the TT bike. We chatted a bit before the race, but as Elias has said, it was pretty obvious to see me up there. I didn't like yesterday, and it also felt like that. Yeah, my shoulder was a small pain straight after the crash, so definitely something that is wrong there, and we need to have a proper check-up on it. And with the Olympics ahead, I have to focus on that. You know my dreams and my goals, and I'm dreaming of winning Olympics. And if I continue here just to finish every day, I don't think that's the best preparation right now for Olympics.
Nice to see you smile on this. But as you say, I know you really well. I know this is the last thing you want to do. How was it to tell the guys yesterday or this morning that you were leaving the race?
It was hard. The team now it wouldn't start. It was built around me. I know I carry quite some to support us. So there was a hard speech yesterday at the dinner table.
But if I know you well, you also gave them a motivational speech.
Of course, these fuckers, they have to win some bike races now, and now they have all the opportunities in the world, you know. Now I'm not here to handcuff them for the rest of the race, you know. Now they need to grab every opportunity they can. We saw it last year with Tom's, for example, in the Giro. When I left, he was flying and finished second here and there. So, you know, fuck Ryan, he should do some sprinting. Tom's going the breakaways. Chico keep going as he does in the mountains. We still have a really, really strong team. So all the best to my boys.
Speedy recovery. See you in the Olympics.
Thank you. See you.
Mars Persson speaking to Anna Smilka, and the obligatory apology in case you're offended by anything you heard there. Nice to hear Mars speaking so passionately and so rawly, however. And you heard that his objectives are the Olympic Games coming up as well. Lots of objectives for different riders at this Tour de France. They've been adjusted for the next man we're about to hear from. It was breakaway G last year, maybe GCG this time now.
200.
After the Giro,
Manageable.
Maybe kind of open the possibilities of different kinds of racing styles than maybe we assumed. I was a bigger guy coming in, came from the track, and I think the idea was, oh, maybe, you know, he could do well in classics. And then the Giro, I did pretty well on some mountain breakaways, but obviously, you know, when I was with the real climbers, you could see the difference. When I got to that last big mountain day, stage 19, and Buitrago just rode away from me, that was the kind of thing where I said, that's where I want to shift my focus. I want to be able to get in a breakaway like that and not know from pretty far out that I'm going to lose the stage, you know, not be lining up with a 60-kilo guy, go out. You know, I'm not going to win this one. So that was really my drive, was to try and just expand how many stages I could be competitive for. So this year we decided, oh, let's try after the classics to take a GC run at the Dauphiné. Yeah, lose some weight, do an altitude camp, you know, change the training style a little bit and see how it goes. I missed all the classics anyway because I crashed, so got a bit of a head start on that. And yeah, the goal was a top 15 at Dauphiné, so it went a little better than expected.
Was that a surprise to you?
Massively, massively. I mean, it was the team going in said, hey, pressure free, you know, just race to the line every day and see how you end up at the Dauphiné. Like, the team had other goals as well, and yeah, it was something I was nervous about a top 15 almost until the last day, you know, like very unknown racing to the line on big mountain days, you know, trying to hang with the best. So yeah, certainly not what the expectation was. I wouldn't say I'm an overconfident kind of guy. So I think it actually does take a result that big to really get my head around the fact that on a good day I can compete with the best.
What ambitions are you going into the Tour de France with?
Certainly higher than before the Dauphiné. The ambition is to win a stage. I'd really love to come out with a stage win, but it just depends how many breaks go to the line, what stages, you know, how the race ends up being raced, and yeah, just try and fight for as many as possible. Did you ever have the feeling, and I hate that expression myself, but being afraid to be a one-hit wonder? Massively. I mean, even last season, after I took the step up at the Giro, it was my first year pro, but it was frustrating to go back for the rest of the season to just seeing that same level of results as before the Giro. And I think with how 2023 ended and how 2024 started, it was even more motivation because that was a pretty frustrating feeling to kind of have these big results in May and then have nothing again until June of this year. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of motivation between then and now.
Derek G there from Canada. He was speaking to Anna's before the start in Florence. Beautiful sunny weather at that interview. It's changed a little today. Sean, great to hear from him though. And he is looking like a different rider, up 7 places yesterday to 14th now in the GC.
Yes, well, I think he is confirming all the time that, you know, he is a talent. And we talked about him in the Giro last year, and the way he was riding in Giro he was getting into breaks, being very aggressive, and getting into breaks a day or two later, or even the following day maybe, I can't remember exactly, but when a rider's able to do that, that shows he's got something, and he's been reconfirming that in the Dauphiné, of course, and yesterday in the time trial. He did a great performance yesterday against these big, solid time trialists we have here fighting for the general classification. So again, he's confirming all the time that he has got a talent.
173 talented riders just crossing the start line there. They're on their way to kilometre zero.
Everybody wrapped up, and yeah, this is not a nice start at all. After having really good conditions as well, the earlier parts in Italy, really warm conditions, and when you get, those conditions, although you can see the riders, some of them, they haven't got too much on. I think they're also thinking this could be a real aggressive start. So if you overdress, well, that can be a problem as well, because how do you get off the gear if it's just full-on racing with the terrain we've got? It's a fine line. What do you put on? Do you put on the raincoat? Do you put on a gilet? Do you put on arm warmers? And we can see, quite a few of the riders are wrapped up, but other ones, maybe the ones are going to go to battle right in the beginning.
Maybe you can tell who's going to have a go, depending on what they're wearing. Yes, aero helmet, short sleeves, for example, for Paulus there. Well, it looks like it could be Paris-Nice, this. 16 degrees, low cloud, hilly. Is it going to sprint? Is it not? Who's going to get up the road? Are we going to have a lot of people trying to get up the road? One team's going to have to control it. That's the yellow jersey early on. Let's hear from their head honcho, Machin.
Machin Fernandez, a couple of days ago we saw that Tadej Pogačar was isolated in those crosswinds. Has there been some strong words in the bus this morning before the start of the stage, particularly with the strong winds on today's stage?
It's another stage with the nervous special. With the first 20 k's to the first part of the stage is really complicated with the narrow section, village, three around little climbs. But after is the 2,000, more of 2,000 elevation gain. For this is important stage for remaining from breakaway, no breakaway, sprint, no sprint. Don't enter in this. Keep fighting.
With the possibility of the crosswind, what have you told the other riders within the team to make sure they're in the front split with Tadej Pogačar?
It's a little area open, but it's a lot of cover. But in the open, it's really complicated. For this is altogether around Tadej, right? Almost 3 riders in front, another back for self-security, and actually stay in the super attention in the moment of the open area for. Before of this open area, remain in the first position after controlling the race in always key as possible.
How is the atmosphere within the team on the bus coming to the start? Everyone is in good spirits?
Absolutely. We have the yellow jersey. Maybe with the Renko Benepolis close the gap, but with the big Garis more gap. For this is a good atmosphere. One day more in the time trial. Remember last year. In one time trial lost 1 minute 38, today is don't lose and gain. For this is super motivated.
Thanks a lot, Machin.
Thank you so much.
Escarricasco indeed. Josian Fernandez Machin there speaking to Hannah Walker. And Luke, the press officer, just making sure that all the right responses came up. That was an intriguing, interesting question as to what was going on in the team. And Sean, that's something, you've seen this, you've been watching this for so long, as we get the sad confirmation that there's no Mars Pearson today. But that question now, because of what we've seen on the road, is going to be asked about, is everybody getting on all the way to the finish, isn't it?
Well, we did hear from Machin there, everybody was ready for it. But again, when you have those conditions, the riders are a little bit down, and the director sportif, they want to motivate the riders, and by talking the talk, that's the way you do it. So you have to talk very positively when you're interviewed by the press there, as he was interviewed by Hannah there. So you try and motivate your riders, and that's what you do on the bus as well. But there's always that concern, when you're race leader and you're in a great position. As for the other contenders as well, you're always concerned about crashes on the wet road, so it does concern the teams.
All ready to go on stage 8. 6.5k still to kilometre 0. When we get to kilometre 0, Sean, are we expecting more of a battle to get up the road today? Because so far on what we've termed to be probable sprint stages, it's been quite calm, no breakaway.
Well, guaranteed there's going to be a lot of interest in getting into the breakaway today, because when you look at the sprinters are here, there's a lot of teams saying, is it too difficult for us? Let's maybe go to manage the breakaway and see. And there's a number of teams there who have got riders they can put into the breakaway. So that is the carrot for the guys, the breakaway men.
And quickly on with our predictor game. This is what happened yesterday. Traxel up to 92. Contador and Baranovski 10 points behind. The fight's on. Hannes Milker, though, where are you, mate? 44, bottom of the league. Dearie me.
Etappe 8 wordt een interessante
stage. It's going to be an interesting ride because it's a bit up and down, a bit challenging, and that's why I think the strong sprinters will come through. Who will it be? I think Dully wins. The Belgian champion will be the winner of this stage. I predict that Ben Healy will win stage 8 of the Tour de France. The stage will end with a strong breakaway, the best of which will be the Irishman from EF Education Easy Post.
EF Education Easy Post. Stage 8 will be won by Arnaud Dely from Lotto Destiny. It's going to be, I expect that it's going to be a punchy sprint today, and it's well suited for Arnaud Dely. We saw in Quebec last year, in the end of the season last year, how explosive he is. He's been really good in the first part of the tour. I think Arnaud Dely will take his first ever Grand Tour win and first ever Tour de France win. Allez, El Toro!
He might be bottom of the league, but he's top of the Vibes League, isn't he, I think, there? There's lots of love for Dely. Ola Agnen's shown the Belgians some love. EF, they've got options, haven't they? Healy goes, Contador as well. Bettiol was the choice of Steve Chenel. What about the King? Sean, how do you see this going? You've talked about the will to get in the break. Can a break make it?
Well, it is going to be an interesting one. Will the break get away? And I would give, quite a good chance of a breakaway managing to get up the road and go all the way. But we'll have to wait and see as well how many teams are confident in their sprinters. That is the other question. And the interest to get in the breakaway. If there's a lot of interest, sometimes, they just block each other out. They're chasing each other. The wet conditions, I think, probably will help a bit for the breakaway, because the guys who will take the risk, going on the little technical parts, they could, manage to get out of the break. So it's a very difficult one to pick a winner here. And, the GC guys in the end as well, you just never know after a day like this. We could see them very much in the final. There's a Wout van Aert there who looks good. Yesterday in the time trial wasn't his best performance, but he's definitely feeling good. So yeah, there's so many riders, and I'd be afraid to pick a winner at this point. I'll wait till the breakaway, see will it manage to get away, and then if I'm allowed to pick, then
you're allowed to do whatever you want. You're the king. Let's go back to the microphone, shall we? EF had a lot of picks today. Here's Charlie Regalius with Hannah.
Well, the weather conditions have changed a lot here in the Tour de France. It's been pouring down with rain all morning, and we've got quite an unpredictable stage, Charlie Regalius. Some saying for the sprinters, some saying for the breakaway. What are your initial thoughts on a day like today?
Tough one, I'd say. I think it could go either way. Not the easiest stage for a sprinters team, to control. The weather's what it is. The roads are pretty challenging. There's large parts of the race where it's not easy to get organised and get into position. So for a team to be organised, it would be a little bit later in the stage. And I also think that there's several sprinters teams who would have an option to put somebody in a breakaway that would go to the line. So I think it's an open book today.
You've got someone like Alpecin de Koning who can save Jasper Philipsen if it comes down to a sprint, but also Mathieu van der Poel, the world champion, I'm sure would be wanting to try and get himself into the breakaway. For your team at EF Education Easy Post, you've got a number of options and an informed Ben Healy. How do you make sure that that breakaway goes and it stays away?
I mean, we need to participate in it, but obviously there's a large part of that that's also down to the dynamics of the race, what other teams do, and we'll see that in the first kilometres, how they move. But you've got to be in it to win it. So if we get the right people up front, then it's game on.
The right combination in the breakaway?
Yeah, you need the right combination. You need the right teams who basically don't have an interest in bringing the race back. And then we'll take it from there.
Well, the sprinters will want to try and have another opportunity, Jasper Philipsen being one of those. Biniam Girmay could be victorious across numerous different options. Van der Poel, you've got Wout van Aert if he's given a free roll. Thanks a lot, Charlie Willigalis. Best of luck today.
Charlie always telling it like it is, and his riders are ready to go. Short sleeve, aero helmets on. I think whatever happens, we can expect movement from EF Education Easy Post today. This is the scene then. Now, the scenes yesterday were absolutely wonderful, weren't they? Especially where Julien Bernard was involved. At home, riding the time trial, not having to ride in, not surrounded before or after by riders who were going to get caught up, held up, have any issue, whilst he was saying hello to his family, kissing his wife, and making memories to last a lifetime. So, you'll forgive my dismay this morning, and I think the world of cycling in general, when I open the communique and I see unseeming or inappropriate behavior during the race that damages the image of the sport, 200 Swiss fines. What? The commissaires, joyless, bereft of any feeling or emotion, poor party poopers. Have a word with yourselves, eh?
Kilometer 0 just behind us, and it will be an exciting day. It is fairly open here, not too much wind though, but it is absolutely open. Roads are wet, and the rain is just coming and going, so it will be an absolute nerve-wracking start into today's stage. Slightly uphill, so I believe we will today for sure see the first attacks at kilometer 0 already. And back to the commentators.
Those have started, Jens. We've seen the first, not quite crashes, but dances around to avoid them. And a few riders taking the opportunity to either get dressed or undress. Sean, you said a few riders perhaps didn't quite know what to expect, and some are changing their minds.
Well, yes, of course, in the earlier part with the quite a long rollout here of almost 9 kilometres, we can see 2.7 to the depart Riel, and riders are starting to strip off a little bit more, and you can do that because we always see that the race doesn't start until everybody's back in the peloton, so they're using that rule here and to get ready. And yeah, when you're in the bus as well, you come out, of course, you can feel a bit the cold a bit more, feel a bit nippy maybe is the word. And you said, Rob, this is like Paris-Nice weather, because what did we say, it was 16 degrees. I think it'd be windy and 6 degrees in Paris-Nice, so it's a lot better here, thank God. And we can see the riders now, up the front. Some of them stripped off, as I say, but more seems to be, they feel that, as they're riding a bit, they're starting to warm up and getting ready for this very fast start. And we heard from Charles Wegelis there, this is going to be a difficult one. Will it be a breakaway? Will there be 3 teams wanting to control, able to control? And, so many people interested in the breakaway, that can really nullify the breakaway getting away, and it could go on for a long, long time. Although at the wet roads, it should break the elastic pretty early, but again, you just never know how long this one could go on for. This could turn out to be a very difficult stage then, if it goes on and we get into 30, 60, 70, 80 kilometres before the break gets away, if it does get away at all.
Of course, I'm nobody to argue with you about Paris-Nice. Monsieur Paris-Nice makes his pronouncement. Yes, 16 degrees is rather warm, unless maybe you're on the final stage in and around Nice, which, luckily, you probably wouldn't get this weather at. Here's Pogačar. We heard Martin saying that his team weren't going to control, that we're going to try and not get involved. It's sort of, as Adams pointed out multiple times, I think he's a keen observer in this. They don't get involved in chasing or policing the break. They sort of let it play out in front of them, don't they?
Yes,
Good.
You know, the team of Pogacar, UAE, they just allow the battle to go on between the riders, sit back a bit. Problem is today, you cannot sit back. You have to be very much to the front, and that means in the top 20 or 30 riders for safety reasons more than anything, because you know when the race is on, that is the danger point for crashes, and they will be concerned. And you know, we did see already in this race in the crosswinds a number of days ago, they got that little scare where Pogacar was on his own. They can't afford to have that, because if he has a problem and the brace is really blown apart, you know, he's going to maybe need teammates in that situation. So team orders will be in the bus. Okay, guys, you know, we see it a number of days ago. You know, you're in a bad position, some of the helpers of this team, and you cannot afford to do that today with the terrain we've got to get over and the wet conditions more so.
1.4 kilometres until the flag will be waved. And all hell could break loose here. Former world champion, current Portuguese champ, is now stripping himself and getting ready for action too. Rui Costa there. So many EF Education Easy Post jerseys to the front. Movistar have quite a few as well, don't they? It looks like it could be an Oyer Lascano or Alex Aramburu there. Certainly on paper. Look out for those Lotto Destiny jerseys. Uno X, I think, could be a team, as well as Alpecin de Koenig. A day made for their riders on paper. There's Paul Lapeyra, French champion, towards the back. Decathlon have several options, including him. Gordon will be a man to watch. Can Bennett hang on if it does come back together towards the end? But how is the race going to play out? Jonas Abrahamsen there is right at the front, and there are as many as 5 points in the King of the Mountains competition available in the first 40 kilometers today. Screech of disc brakes. 700 meters to the start, and if you want those good positions at the front, it's time to get up there and take them.
Looks like a gross day out there for the race. Yeah.
In there. We mentioned Aramburu, the Spanish champions jersey, is down near the back as well.
All right, two more.
Here we go here. It's a business-like look to the peloton, and we haven't even started yet.
And then a nice 10-minute, 200-watt effort.
Couple of early punctures. I think those riders are back in. Matteo Jorgensen left-hand side, keeping an eye on things. Derek G is up there as well, the two North Americans. Arnaud Delis, fourth wheel through the centre. Jeko Alula, you'd think that they would have freedom to attack today. Look out for Michael Matthews. It's Luke Durbridge.
A little lower cadence.
Of their riders to the front.
Higher resistance.
Ready for a super Saturday of entertainment then. It's the 8th stage of the Tour de France, and we are on our way to the flag wave and what should be an explosive start here. Downhill in the first few kilometers, then rises up. The first climb coming after about 22 Ks. And it's up and down. There will be nerves everywhere right now. Michał Kwiatkowski close to the front. The boss shows his face. Not a day for the sunroof, is it? But we're here at kilometre 0. Time to perform the additional duties. Time for this stage to get underway. And time for Nielsen Palas to be the first to attack. Off we go. EF Education Easy Post promised. And they're the ones who have launched hostilities, Sean Kelly.
Yes, and there were the team we were looking at there, a lot of riders in the front, and you can see, you know, two men here very much to the front from EF Education, and Yeah, this is what a lot of the people were predicting, and as we said as well, there will be a lot of action, and 182.9 kilometers to go. It kicks off immediately.
Abrahamsen is on the wheel. Bissiger is a little further back. Of course, there's no worry about powerless this year in the general classification. Already 23 minutes, 41 seconds down. Abrahamsen will want more points. He'll also want a stage win. There's a split to about 10 to 15 riders as well chasing on here. Bissiger is going to make it up to the front. In that second split, by the way, who coshed us there? And we wait for our next attacks. 3 riders who've made it. But serious climbs. This is the first lip, and then the descent just over the hill to the right-hand side. The next climb is a long, false, flat road before we get to the first climb proper at 23 k's in today. So Paulus flicks his arm. Abrahamsen comes through. And yesterday's time trial star Bissiger smiles away at his mate. And, well, they were prepped, weren't they? Aero helmet on. It's almost like a time trial helmet they've got on here, sure.
Yes, they were certainly prepped. We could see, right from the earlier part in the neutralized section, they were very much at the front here, and, Paulus, you could see there, he was ready, and, they were all stripped off, but, this breakaway, 3 men here, it is going to be a difficult one because the terrain, unless it really knocks off in the peloton, which is, unlikely, but you can see there's just one rider coming across there, and then the rest are just closing out on the front of the peloton. And this will be an interesting one because, you would expect a lot more teams to try and filter into the breakaway. But again, sometimes, that is a surprise. Maybe they have the feeling and they're hearing that a lot of teams want to control this one, and for that reason, maybe some of the teams not really putting in the big effort at the start, but we'll have to wait and see for a number of kilometers. We can see this gap going out to 9 seconds at the moment, and a sole rider making it across.
Groupama rider trying to come across. Looks like it could be Paché. There is movement behind from the Ineos Grenadiers for the first time in this race. They had a few disappointing time trial results yesterday. Still up there in 7th with Carlos Rodriguez at 2 minutes 31. They're now outside the top 10 at 5:25 now. It is Paché who's chasing, 8 seconds. Behind from Paulus, who I imagine wants more company here. Look at these.
One more, let's
speeds on
go.
the downhill. Odd kilometers per hour. And in Paulus's case, look at how he is as well. The radio's down the front. It's a proper time trial setup minus the bike today. Everything's thought about. Every watt that can be saved will be saved. Downhill for the next couple of kilometers. Long straight road here though, 71 k's an hour. .16 seconds to Paché. It's opening up. He, by the way, is now on his way to being caught by the peloton. There he is, just appears behind. There should be a bunch of riders encroaching upon him.
I look really white, huh?
Big movement yet from them. .20 seconds. There's a little dart out from one of the Ineos riders, but that's calmed down now. Somebody else attacks behind. Looks like Bahrain. Followed immediately by a rider from Lotto.
And we can see Quentin Paché here, getting out on his own. The gap wasn't a big one at all, but you would expect him to get across there, but with the 3 riders out in front and you see the roads the way it just, downhill, then a little kicker, even in the wheel there, you get that momentum, and the rider come over in 2nd position, then you slot into that 3rd position as we have 3 men out in front, and it's so difficult for a sole rider when it's going at that rate, and we see the speeds that were going at a point there, rapid stuff at this point, and one rider, It's a real difficult, but when it starts to go up a little bit, that's where a one rider can make, you know, the advantage. But unfortunately, 3 out in front are working well together, and surprising, still not a lot of action here on the front of the peloton. I was, and I think a lot of more people were expecting a more contested start here to make it into a bigger breakaway.
That was Nikias Arndt, by the way, from Bahrain Victorious. Mathieu van der Poel's having a quick conversation with Victor Kampenaerts, who had been the rider following Arndt. Interesting to see Van der Poel start to make his way to the front, however. But look at this, 36 seconds already. Nervous moment coming up. Time for a collective intake of breath, I think. Through this town, more nervous moments. There'll have to be some movement in that peloton because that road's not wide enough for everybody. These three not having that problem. 34 seconds on Pache, 44 on the peloton. Right turn here after that big traffic island. And this is where the road starts to ever so slightly go false flat uphill for the next 15 Ks. First climb today is a third category climb, the Côte de Vitraux. And here we are in Pouillonet. And the peloton now starting not quite as aggressive as perhaps we expected. Nevertheless, speeding up through this town, trying to avoid the obstacles. Certainly there was more chatter than action so far. All the talks before the stage. Only really EF and Unox walking the walk. Now then, let's see what happens here. It's a minute already though. That's a big gap. And from the image we're getting here, Lotto, Destiny, Alpecin de Koning are pretty happy with this. Bora Hansgrohe are happy with this.
EF are happy with
naturally. Yeah, they've got two riders up there. J.K. Lula too. Sean, are you happy with this?
No, because my prediction is totally wrong. I was expecting a lot more action out of a lot of the teams to try and make the breakaway. And the teams, you know, who do not have any chance in the final. When you look at EF Education, for example, if they get into the final here, you know, you have Healy, Bettiol, for example, you know, they could be very competitive in the final at this one, but they're, you know, really taking it on here at the start, and that was certainly part of the plan tactic for the team. But the other teams, you know, Arkea, Total Energy, all of those guys, they have to try and get into the breakaway, because when it goes into the final, you know, I know Arkea probably have somebody in the final that can do something, but there's a lot of other teams here who are not going to go into the final with any chance if it's a fight between the bigger riders in this race. And yeah, it's surprising they're not going the attack at all, no movement. And yeah, you can see it closed down, as you say, Rob, there on the front of the peloton. It looks like that they're happy with the situation at the moment.
That's a magic spray for Alexei Lutsenko. And we got the magic touch now of Adam Blythe.
Well,
Hello,
I won't
Adam.
go that far. I would not go that far. I'm with Sean here. I can't understand. The only thing I'm thinking of is that the riders that are maybe wanting to go on the attack, they have at 160 k's to go, they've got that small category 3 climb, and it is small, it's not too long. It's only just under 3 kilometers in length, but at 3%. So what are these guys? 1 minute 32 back. The way that they go in at the minute, that is still bridgeable if it starts to really kick off. And then the downhill, back up another category 4, and then up another category 3. So we've got a good, what, 30 k's roughly of really hard racing, really hard terrain coming up at 160 to go. So I still don't think it's done just yet.
The issue here, Adam, with the gap still at 1:30 at the minute, you're going to get the nature breaks. You've just seen the yellow jersey stop. How do you stop this now growing to being unbridgeable?
You just hope. There's not really a lot you can do, you know. You can set your team on the front to ride a certain tempo, but you respect the yellow jersey, wait for him to get back in, and I just think they've got another, what, 12 Ks until they get to the climb. Even if it is at 3 minutes, that 40K, if they really start to go bananas behind, they can bring it right down. It'll be a very strong group then, but maybe with the weather conditions, the rain and everything, they want to stay safe, don't want to go bananas, but I am surprised by it.
Sean, Pache there, he's not going anywhere, is he, at 1:33 on his own. If you're Mark Madio here, who's as passionate as we know he is, they've no sprinter, they're nowhere in the GC, surely they've got to be the ones riding to try and make this interesting today.
So
well,
they keep racing in the start,
little track,
we come
just
to
a
the
moment.
bottom of the first climb. You have a sector of 17 kilometers with 3 mountain prizes. So we have the Cat 3, the Cat 4 and the Cat 3. Always following up. So it's basically downhill and straight into the next climb. So that 17 kilometers are really important. And if they race there, it will be split for sure.
A sign maybe then of what's to come. That's what Adam was talking about into that section. But yeah, you know, if nobody does do that there, surely Groupama should be one of the teams here trying to do something.
Well, I think we see Pache trying, and he was just that little bit too late, and the 3 out front started to work together, and you know the road did not help him at all, because you know the very fast descents there, the 3 out in front, the way they were drafting each other, and not really making an effort. But when you're drafting and you come over the man in front, you know you have to get that flush of speed, and the sole rider, it's a difficult one to do there. But the thing is, you know, the teams that I was talking about, like a Total Energies, for example, and a lot of other teams, you'd expect them to be more active in the earlier part, because if it does totally slow down, then you're in a situation, what do? Maybe they're thinking Lotto Dynasty, Alpecin de Koning, will they start riding for the men they have got, like, you know, Armand de Lee, the guys in Alpecin de Koning, Van der Poel, Philipsen, do they feel they can get through in the end? Maybe they do. But you know, if those guys start controlling, well then you're not going to have much of a chance to get anything out of the stage, because you're fighting against really bigger teams, better riders. And for the smaller teams, I'm surprised they didn't get more involved at the very start. But you know, it's not over yet at all, and we can see now Lotto are starting to start putting a pace in the front, and it looks like that is going to be a controlled race here for some of them teams with the sprinters or punchers, whatever you like to call them. But again, the smaller teams, you know, it's going to be difficult for getting anything out of this race because they haven't been active.
Three men are away at the start of the 8th stage of the Tour de France. They've got 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Sean Kelly's just been talking to our digital viewers, and if you'd like not to miss a single moment of his or any of our experts' pronouncements or the action on screen, make sure you join us on Discovery Plus. It's a little bit dark up ahead. It's a rainy day, a windy day. Adam, I don't think you, from your demeanour looking at the screen, think this is done yet in terms of the breakaway.
No, I don't. And with the weather as it is, we can see that Wanty is on the front. They'll obviously be riding for Biniam Gamay on a day like today. Lotto as well, they've got on the front for Arnaud Delis, the Belgium national champion. But just look at the teams that are up at the front. You've got Red Bull there on the left-hand side. You've got one rider, a couple of riders from UAE. You've got Marc Soler and Sivakov moving up. Ineos just sat behind them. With the weather as it is and coming into this next section, as we heard from Stephen de Jong, 17 kilometres, 3 categorised climbs in there, albeit small. But it does get twisty, it does get narrow, so you can see the gap is at 2:16. A lot of the teams will want to come to the front now. They'll want to at the front, they'll want to hold that good position, and the more there's that sort of fight towards the front. Ben Healy moving up on the left hand side, just in that shot, just back there now as well. He's got 2 teammates up there, but he's got the full gear on. He's got the time trial skin suit, that aero helmet. So yeah, I just don't think it's quite done yet. I think if I was Lotto, I'd be really trying to slow this down if I wanted to take control of it, because the closer they keep this and the more everyone tries to position, the closer they're going to get to the break, the more that will then encourage riders to go on the attack on these sections.
Sean, if you're the sports director for Lotto there for Intermarché, what are you telling your riders then?
Well, I think we can see immediately, you know, they're getting the call here. Do not allow this break to get too far, and you know, keep it at that maybe 3 minutes. It'll be interesting to see at advantage they will, allow it to be. And it looks like the teams you can see there, Lotto Dynasty, you can see Intermarché, Albaicin as well. I think they might contribute a little bit later as well. So it's not over at all. But luckily for the teams that maybe you'd expect to be in the breakaway, Arkea, Total Energies, Movistar, for example, another team, if they had tried to get into the breakaway, there'd be more action. You could get a bigger breakaway. And if you get a breakaway of 6 or 8 riders, then you have a chance of getting something. And the teams that I'm just mentioned that I was expecting to be very active, they're not going to get a lot out of this one in the end, because they're going to be up against the bigger teams, the better riders, these sprinters, punchers that can get into this final. So it's a surprising one that they were not more active in the earlier kilometres.
This is the situation then. Let's go and get some inside info. Let's get into the peloton with Jens.
As you can see, my visor is covered in raindrops, so it is a little wet out here. Not too much wind, temperature is still okay. It could be a lot worse. Well, it could be better as well. So, behind the breakaway, they look really determined. They work nicely together, all 3 of them. And even though despite the fact we're at the end of the first week of the tour, they look fairly fresh, strong and ready to go. So they're not going to give up. A lot of quality in this group with the 3 strong riders, but only 3 of them against the entire peloton behind. In the moment, I would think it still looks like the peloton got the better chances that the stage sprint comes out of the peloton behind me. Nevertheless, they go and they give it all they have. Back to the commentators.
Thanks, Jens. Well, that's if the situation stays the same. We were talking about El Toro before. Not quite Toro here, but dearie me, can compete with the very best toros in the world. What's that, Sean? Farming expert.
Toro. I don't know the breed. Sorry about that, but yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, as we heard from Jens there, not a very nice day out here. It's not a nice day at all.
It's an ostrich.
You can see. Yes, Adam, we agree on that one. But yeah, it's not a nice day at all. You can see here, and this could turn out now to be, a day where it's going to go on for a long time. If they're allowed to control, the teams that want to control, get through the earlier part of the stage. And just looking at the earlier part, of course, that first 50 kilometres, that's where it's difficult. Then not too difficult through the middle of the stage, but still there's quite a lot of lumpy terrain. But when you get into the final third, it is terrain where those guys and the teams that are working, they will be able to, take control of the race there. But it depends on what happened in this next section where we go into the climbs. We have
Why do I look so
a
bright?
third category, a fourth category, then another third category. We could see other teams starting to push on.
Jayco as well on the front now. Obviously they got Michael Matthews. Just to note as well there, just sat behind, we have Visma Leasebach moving up. Wout van Aert behind his teammate there, and right behind him is Jonas Vingegaard. We talked about the positioning in the rain. The riders are starting to move up, take that safe position, and as it is all day, there is a cross tailwind throughout today's stage, so that's why they are riding at a rate of knots right now. The average speed so far, 54.9 kilometres an hour average, so it is ticking along quite nicely, but not too difficult in the peloton. But I'm interested with the teams that are riding. 3 riders up the front, twisty and turny all day, tailwind. Yes, it'll be hard to catch those riders because there are some strong riders, as Sean said, out there, but with these climbs coming up, the positioning, that it's always going to be forced. It's always going to be a fight for the front of that bunch, which will always push that speed a little bit more.
Fair to say, Adam, that these 3 wanted more company, isn't it?
Oh yeah, on a day like, I think 2-3 riders more would have been perfect, but I think as soon as 2-3 go, the teams will start to look around about if there's 6 riders, 5 riders going, you've got to be in, you've got to be in. So I think it's the easiest amount of riders to go in a break, and it's a good number when it's small because there's 3 riders. Obviously, you still get that little bit of rest in between. But yeah, I think another 2-3 riders would have been perfect for them. But yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult. 2:25 at the minute still.
Yes, definitely they need more riders out here in front, and I think, in the neutralised zone, the riders, they talk a lot together, and you know, riders of different teams, they know each other quite well, and you know, some riders you get to know a bit better, and there's always that conversation. What are you guys going to do today? Are you going to control it a bit? And that word gets around, and maybe that's the reason that not as many teams that we were expecting, and I think I wasn't the only one. There's, you know, the people on the ground, our guys out there, you know, they were expecting as well more of an active start. But you know, sometimes when you're in the bus, there's a tactic there within teams, but that can change in the neutralised section until you get to the official start. And possibly that is the reason we're not seeing more teams getting into the attacking mode here at the very beginning, because they know there's 2 or 3 teams that are going to control, and they say, well, if that's the case, there's not much chance of the breakaway surviving.
All the big dogs are coming up. Vingegaard, Evenepoel, Roglic. Tish Benut's got his old teammate on his wheels. The wrong rider, Tish. He's not in your team anymore, son.
Well, it's just safety now. The big guys are on the front here, and they're just going to hover around the front in case that it does start to kick off as we get into this section where there is a number of climbs to get over. And we heard from Stefan de Jong there. He was talking about, okay, guys, just be careful now, the climbs and that area. Be alert and be ready, and that's why we're seeing some of the guys from the GC as well get into a safe position.
I think as well the likes of Jayco riding, that will be at the minute. They've only put Chris Juul-Jensen on the front, the man in the orange on the front of our screen. I think that will be for positioning as well. You know, if a team's riding, the other riders allow the team that is riding to come up near the front, sit further towards the front. But like we can see, it's spread across the front of the road already. It's, you know, if Chris Juul-Jensen stopped riding, the pace would probably stay exactly the same, just because of that fight for positioning. No, what was it?
You hear that? They'd quite like some more guys here, he said.
I would as well if I was you. These guys are not full gas, though.
If they're talking like that, they're obviously not, no. There was a little bit of laughing and joking and smiling. I mean, I asked Sean what the chat would be from sports directors to those chasing. If you're an EF sports director there, what are you telling your riders, Adam?
It's a tough one. At the moment they're in now is because the breakaway is so close still, and it's within reaching distance. I think that the riders who are riding in the peloton, they're not full gas either, holding a good tempo, but the riders in the break, because they are so close still to possibly being caught, you don't want to go full gas and extend that gap, because you might not have any, you'll be tired later on. You also don't want to sit right up, so it's riding at that odd tempo where you have to keep the pace on a little bit, just in case you get caught, that you've still got enough energy for the final if you're still there. So it's a very tough one. I'd just say, just roll at a good tempo, try and hold the gap that you've got, and if it does start to come down, don't keep trying to extend it. Riders will come to you, so just keep doing what you're doing and concentrate on the end of the race. If riders come to you, brilliant, you've got more help, but don't try and fight them off. Don't keep trying to ride as hard as you can when riders are attacking in the back. That's if the attacks do happen. But I just think today, with the weather as it is and the dangers out on the road as well, from this peloton, it's going to be constantly like this, constantly moving, constantly fighting to be towards the front. So that gap is not really going to go out, even if they don't decide to send riders up the road and go on the attack today.
I think EF Education, the 2 riders up there, Bissinger and Paulus, they'll be looking for Healy and maybe Bettiol to get up to them on the climbs and make it 4 men from EF Education out front. But they need manpower, that's sure, and they can hear the vibes from them.
Gap down to 2:10. Stage 8 today of the Tour. Rider with the orange and green jersey at the front was Chris Juul-Jensen. Was of Danish nationality, but born and raised in County Wicklow in Ireland. A very happy birthday to him today. 35 years old, Chris Juul-Jensen. Just on the right-hand side of your screen. A lot of different teams coming up to join him. Total Energy for the first time on the left as we look at it.
Look at the gap
got
as
some
well,
good
Rob.
riders for today, haven't they?
Yeah, very good riders. Just noticing that gap there, Rob, 2:08. It was 2:12, and you can see no one's riding really that hard, just positioning, but it's naturally just falling down that time gap ever so slowly. It's tightly packed at the front of the bunch. And let's not forget, Rob, this could be a day with the tight and twisty roads are always on, left and right, up and down, wet roads. If it really strings out, it could be a day which really unfolds the GC. You know, we know that Remco, he doesn't like the argy-bargy so much, so you'd think on a day like today that Quick-Step would want to take control of this to keep him right towards the front, because anything can happen on a day like today, and if there is crashes, if there's carnage, if there's wind involved, there could be splits within the GC as well. So it is really a difficult day for their teams as well, the GC teams, to keep your GC man right up towards the front.
Just a couple of kilometres now from the start of our first classified climb of the day, the Côte de Vito. Speed up at 50 k's an hour then, as Adam was saying, there's no real huge effort here. The yellow jersey so close to the front, left-hand side as we look at it. That tells its own story.
It does, and we can see, you know, the teams that I was talking about, total energies, starting to feel a bit more. I think we can see Ben Healy is up around the front there, and when he starts to appear, they know it could be a possibility he's going to, you know, try and go in the attack with the 2 men in front of his team, with the Abrahamson here from Uno X, not happy with the situation. We've heard that from the discussions between them there, and the teams are starting, you know, to get on to the alert mode here on the front of the peloton. You can see it's definitely getting more active, but that would be normal as well. I think if the gap was maybe 3 minutes here and there was 5 men out in front, it would be the same situation, the peloton, just to get through this more of a technical, difficult part here with the climbs coming up. It would normally and naturally get more active on the front of the peloton. So what we're seeing for the moment, it's not a surprise, but we'll have to wait and see with this situation out front under 2 minutes. It's one where, you know, could a number of riders certainly be interested in bridging across.
Up and down for the next 17 kilometres or so. Third cap, followed by fourth cap, followed by third cap. And they're already increasing the pace